There's a misconception that we don't exist, that somehow our ability to excel at the highest level of our industry is limited, that overcoming barriers as a woman of color would be insurmountable. But what would happen if we decided to venture out on our own despite everything we're up against? I'll tell you. Welcome to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Angelina Davis, a healthcare consultant, consulting coach, high performance fanatic, wife, and proud girl mom. I help transform female professionals into thriving solo consultants. And just like you, I'm wearing all the hats and doing all the things. So this podcast is to empower the busy female professionals to move past fear to start and grow a successful consulting business, despite the obstacles you may encounter. We'll dive deep into consulting practice, business strategy, mindset, and more. So grab your cup of coffee or tea if that's your thing, and let's get started. Hello, guys. Welcome to episode 34 of the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I am your host, Dr. Angelina Davis, and I am so glad to be here another week just to chat with you. I always enjoy these conversations because I really feel like, although I'm talking into this microphone, I feel like you're sitting right across from me and we are just having a conversation. And so I really look forward to it. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about what you need to do if you're struggling to land business consistently. And if you have really been searching for the solution to generating the type of kind of consistent business and lead generation and flow that you need in order to create some predictability in your business. And so today I want to talk about the truth about consistent growth. This was actually stemming from a post that I made recently, and I got a lot of feedback about it. And I figured, you know what, this will be a great opportunity to go deeper into this whole conversation. Because the one thing that I truly believe is that a successful consulting business actually lies right on the other side of the simple business that you have yet to create. And the reason why I say this is because when we are, practicing as ambitious women, we are definitely go-getters. We're used to accomplishing a lot of big goals and used to doing things very, very well and being very detail-oriented, all those great things. That's allowed us to really get to this place where we are actually building a business of our own and doing that successfully. And part of our nature, our innate nature, is really the fact that we are used to solving problems and dealing with levels of complexity. And so we begin to believe that it is the complexity that generates the outcome. And so we're attracted to complex processes. We're attracted to anything that seems to be very complex because in our minds, oftentimes, because we're used to problem solving and taking in all this information, we're thinking that the more complex something is, the more difficult it is, the more steps that it takes, then that must mean that it is going to be the most effective approach. And so what this episode is all about, how we can really break through that misconception so that we can create the simple business that we need in order to generate the outcomes that we desire. There is a truth about practicing as a consultant. And that truth is that we often go through what we call a feast or famine mode. And part of going through those periods where we have either a lot of business, too much that we can handle, and then going through these long periods of searching for clients everywhere that we turn is because we often can get very caught up in doing the work, especially when you're working as a solo consultant or even as a small firm, or even if you're working with a couple of contractors. There are these times where we have taken on projects. The projects are relatively complex. And then as we're beginning to work through those projects and trying to do our best to deliver what we promised to the clients that we currently have, we don't spend the time that's needed to build our business to the level that we need to in order to have business lined up, or what we call, our pipeline filled with potential leads, so that we can then turn to that and fill our calendars when it is the right time. And many people rely on, possibly having sales teams, or maybe they may outsource this component. And there are some problems that can come with that. We won't get into that in this episode. There are ways to do it right, but many times people don't really approach it in the right way. However, we get to this point where we're unable to do those things that we need to do to sustain business and to have business line up in the future. And so therefore, we go through breaks in what I always like to talk about is the sales cycle. We go through breaks in terms of how long it takes to land clients, typically based upon our current methods and the way that we attract and we bring in business. And often many people don't take that into account. And then they think that they can, hop back on social media or log into their email system and send out a bunch of emails, or maybe join a couple of networking events and pass their information around. And they think that that's going to lead to more clients in a short time frame. That is often rare because there was an actual process, a journey, a sales cycle that existed that you didn't pay any attention to. And so because of that, we go through these periods of feast and famine mode, and we're unable to really kind of sustain the level of consistency and predictability that we want in our business. So in order to overcome that, what we have to do is to remain more consistent with those things that we know generates leads, that we know generates sales and allows people to move forward with us and sign contracts and for us to work for an extended period of time. So what makes this difficult is that when you have a more complex process and you're involving everything from networking at various conferences that may require travel and long stays. You are doing webinars that become just large, magnificent presentations that you're going to put together, because remember, you're the kind of person that is going to do your best, and it is going to be a great webinar. So you are not going to just throw something together at the last minute. So I want you to think about the time that you're spending putting these things together. Or maybe you're having a live event that you're going to do on a consistent basis to bring in more clients, or maybe you are setting up numerous meetings to kind of navigate the circuits and get to the right stakeholders so you can land a larger client, especially if you're in the B2B space. Whatever it may be, whatever process you typically use, oftentimes that process is more complex than it needs to be. And so because of that, it seems overwhelming. Just the thought of having to do that over and over again and to build that into your day-to-day workflow. And what happens is that because those things seem so complex and because they take so much time and so much energy and so much planning, then you put that off until later. And that is one of the first ways that complexity in your business becomes part of the bottleneck in your inability to be able to move forward, because you are looking at these large, magnificent ways of being able to really put your services out there to extend an offer to those who may want to work with you. And it doesn't take all of that. And so we often create these scenarios where we are hindering our own growth as consultants, because we're looking at people who may have more manpower, who may have more cash flow so they can really, build a team and get the help that they need in order to carry out these larger scale, activities or initiatives. And we're trying to mimic that because that's what we see as being successful for those who we deem to be at the level that we are or we want to be at. And so what we don't recognize is that although those things may work, if you have all of the pieces of the puzzle together, they are not necessary for you to reach your goal. And so what you want to begin to do is think about, how can you create a business that actually fits into your life. Because if it doesn't fit into your life and your lifestyle easily, then I can tell you right now, it's going to be very difficult for you to be consistent and be committed to these large scale processes. That's where the beauty of having a simple business, consulting with simplicity, comes in. And so let's talk about how we can begin to do that and what it can look like and how it can help you remain consistent over time. Because instead of you having to figure out how now you're going to find time and energy to work on your business and build it consistently after you get off from your 9 to 5, or how you're going to sacrifice time and be away from your children so that you can really do all the things that are necessary for this magnificent launch, or trying to figure out how you are going to really pull all the pieces of the puzzle together and also get the final work done on whether it's strategy or the deliverables or whatever it may be that you have for the clients that you have currently. We're going to solve all those problems. We're going to talk about how you are going to begin to simplify this whole approach. If you're finding yourself following all the successful accounts on Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube, and you're just trying to recreate their strategies, but haven't experienced much growth, or you're consistently sharing tons of helpful content within your industry, almost burning yourself out, but you're still struggling to get potential clients to see the value of the services that you offer. If that's the case, it's time for you to be seen as the expert that you are. It's time for you to make a greater impact. So here's the deal. Using a cookie cutter approach won't help you stand out from the crowd or attract the aligned clients that you need to build a profitable business and create the freedom you desire to live life on your own terms. Your expertise is unique and your approach should be also. That's why I created my signature program, Position to Excel, which is a highly focused, curriculum-based, personalized coaching program developed to help you accelerate the growth of your consulting business by creating a magnetic core offer, an expert personal brand to position your services to sell effectively. And unlike other programs that rely on traditional methods to attract leads, we develop a personalized approach to fill your pipeline without cold calls or reliance on referrals and RFPs. So if you're interested in taking your consulting business to the next level or starting and getting yours off the ground, visit www.excellaconsulting.com, apply for Position to Excel, and let's get started. Okay, so one of the first things I want to talk about is the importance of having a core or central offer. And I know you're probably thinking, here she goes with that core offer talk again. But there is a reason why I like to talk about this and why I kind of harp on it over and over again. It's because it really is the key to you being able to create this level of consistency. Because when you're constantly changing your services, when you're constantly offering something new or something different to another client or whoever may be referred to you, although you can do the work, although you can provide the solution, if you're constantly, using that as a way to build your business and you're using that for your marketing purposes, if you're using that to attract more leads and attract more clients to you, it is going to be very difficult for you to do that successfully in a way that is optimized and that is predictable because you're constantly changing. And the one thing that we know is that in order for things to become predictable, they have to at some point become a reproducible event, something that just kind of occurs over and over again. And in order for you to create that, you're going to do that most easily with one offer, especially starting out. And when I say starting out, within the first, I would say definitely 1 to 3 years and even possibly beyond that, depending upon, what you're able to generate in terms of revenue and the pricing and your financial goals. In many cases, this can be something that you offer for an extended period of time or until you reach, even a 7-figure point. So there are reasons why this core offer is important. And when you are able to create an offer that clients want and need, because oftentimes we're so close to the problem, it's hard for us to step back and think about how we are approaching the problem from the standpoint of our clients or potential clients' perspective. And so many times what we are trying to market and sell is a service or a solution that definitely they need, but that they don't know that they need, and therefore they don't want it. So we have to really think about how we are going to begin to hone in that offer, create something that is truly more magnetic so that it attracts them, but then also allows us the opportunity to improve it over time so that it can be something that stands out in the marketplace and truly is an exceptional experience. And often we can't do that if we don't have a way to really improve a process or create this process on this reality or this outcome over and over again. So one of the first things that we need to do is have a way to offer a service, particularly one service, at least on the front end, that allows us to perfect not only what we're offering, but really hone our messaging so we're attracting those who are very much qualified and willing to move forward with working with us. And that takes time. It takes really creating a process to do that. And it all begins with what we are offering and what we're putting out there, what we have on the table. So one of the reasons why many of us may struggle is because we're trying to just solve whatever problem someone brings to us without any real thought as to what type of clients we want to serve, who we want to serve consistently, how we want to be known, what we do best. We're not considering any of those things. We're not thinking about how do we attract the same client over and over again, the ones that you truly enjoy working with, the work that really fuels you and is very much in alignment with your vision and your purpose. We're not focusing in on those things when we're constantly just trying to solve problems to make money in the moment. And I know there are many consultants that have financially become successful that way, but nothing is worse than building a business that you feel trapped in. And so if you are someone that truly is desiring a real purpose behind your work, you want to feel fulfilled in the work that you do, then that is going to come when you are able to dictate what that business looks like. And so having this offer will help you do that. And it also will help you simplify the process, because what happens is that you have one particular offer that you're optimizing, right? And so as you optimize this offer, then you can begin to create very lean systems and automation and, various templates and other, shortcuts that allow you to do the work quicker, faster, more efficiently. And by doing that, you actually free up time. You increase your capacity to do more work, or your capacity to just energetically do more, to be there and more present with your family or with friends, or to actually free up time for you to travel and do those things that you love. And so therefore, the simplicity of that model affords you the freedom that you truly desire. And what people don't realize is that oftentimes, because they're not creating structure, they're therefore not creating freedom. I always like to say that structure buys or creates you freedom. And when you have more structure, you have more freedom, because those things can be improved upon. They can become more efficient. And then also they become easier and easier to implement. You'll find that you actually will be able to do work faster, generate massive transformations quicker, because you are doing that over and over again. Now, will that sometimes get boring? Yes, it may sometimes get boring. And we can talk about how to bring new life into the work that you do, but it has to be that way if you want to begin to create this level of increased capacity to do more in your life, to have more satisfaction in your life. And that satisfaction comes from things beyond your business. And so this is one of the reasons why I always like to advocate and really stress the importance of having this core offer. Now, does having the core offer mean that you can't offer other services? No, it does not. But what it means is that you're focusing your messaging, you're focusing your service structure and your business from the standpoint of what you are primarily working toward, so that that's what people begin to know you for. And although you may choose to do other things on the back end, that is your choice. That's something that you can do based upon your capacity, based upon your desire, based upon the season, based upon the need at the time. But overall, your energy in terms of optimizing a particular service goes into that one core offer that really becomes your moneymaker. So that's one of the things that I definitely want to really encourage. And this can be done whether you have a B2C or B2B business. So whether or not you're serving consumers or other businesses, it does not matter. That aspect of the core offer and the core service is true regardless. So that is one of the things that I really believe will help you begin to simplify your business model and your business structure. The next thing that I want you to consider is the impact that digital marketing can have on your business and your ability to really nurture your audience, attract additional potentially interested clients, and generate more business overall through the digital channels that we have available to us, whether that is utilizing your blog or utilizing LinkedIn or utilizing Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be, even TikTok nowadays. There are ways that even in consulting, you can definitely use this. And I'll hopefully have an episode maybe in the future that dives a little bit into that. I'm not on TikTok, but there are some strategies and some consultants that have used those things effectively because it depends on what aspect of marketing that you're focused on. However, the one thing that digital marketing helps you with, it allows you to reach people that you had never had an opportunity to easily be in contact with more intimately before. And so I feel like the silver linings of the pandemic has been the fact that we moved more so online, and it made this online access more commonplace. And that actually was very helpful for us, especially if we're solo consultants or if we have smaller firms, when we're competing with these big giants that could just flood and throw money behind consultants being able to travel to those destinations more frequently. Now we have the same access, and now it is more acceptable and definitely favorable in many cases to utilize the online space for really marketing your services, landing contracts, and then even serving the clients that you may have and that you may have attained. So this aspect of digital marketing, I think, is something that is overlooked. When you look at many books and a lot of information about how to start a consulting business, how to market your consulting business, how to land more clients, very few talk about this aspect of marketing. And they rely on what I feel are very still useful, but definitely more traditional, old school approaches instead of moving forward into the digital age that we're currently in and being able to use that to our advantage. Because there are ways that you can structure your content online, especially, to really begin to nurture your audience and provide the information that they need in order to build this level of awareness of your brand, intimacy in terms of connection, as well as relatability to you as an advisor, as a consultant, as someone who can relate to them and their problems and their needs. So this is that aspect of nurturing that oftentimes we don't have an opportunity to get to if we're trying to do it in a more traditional fashion. But when you think out of the box and be a little bit more creative about how you're using your presence in the digital space, it can allow some very short and strategic touch points to build the level of trust that you need to then be able to sell more effectively down the road as the person progresses through the buyer's journey or you're kind of moving through your sales cycle. So in those instances, you're able to do a lot of this work without it being a grand gesture. And so I want you to begin thinking about how you can be more strategic and purposeful when you are using the online space in digital tools. And so that looks like you really committing to whether it's showing up on a particular platform once a week, at least at minimum, or 3 times a week in some type of short form style, or if you're putting out some longer content, whether it's on a podcast or if it's in a blog post or whatever suits you best. it is going to be your opportunity to really simplify your approach, although it can become cumbersome if you let it become. Because if you're trying to follow trends, if you're trying to follow what is new on each platform and kind of what everybody's doing in the moment, and you're losing sight of what your particular goal is, then yes, it can be time consuming. But when you are focused on talking to your audience, when you know their day-to-day flow and what they typically do and how they use the social media space, then it is going, or the online space or the blogs, then it's going to be much easier for you to show up in the digital world and really take full advantage of that. Not to mention those things that become more passive if you just build them out, something like, search engine optimization or SEO, that actually over time it's a long-term result or plan or journey to utilize that as a strategy, but it is highly beneficial if you're able to put those things in place and let them work for you. So I want you to start thinking about how you can begin to build your business for decades and not build your business for this moment, a couple of months or a year. When you think in the long term, you begin to create processes and systems that simplify your approach, but generate you greater return. And so that is how we want to begin to think about using a digital space. And when you know your clients or your potential clients' journey and you understand that fully, then you'll know that it doesn't have to be very taxing. For instance, I know that more than likely you are not living on social media every day. I know that. I know that you're more likely to listen to this podcast episode than you may be to log into Instagram on a daily basis. I also know that there are some others in the audience that love to be on Instagram and very rarely log into the podcast. But at the same time, the frequency of that typically for my audience is relatively minimal. And so my need to show up and be on these different platforms or in this digital space is going to not be as demanding as someone who may be an influencer or someone of that nature. Also, I know that for those of you who like to read, if I put the time into building more quality evergreen content that you can then consume, that is going to be more beneficial and more helpful to you in the long run than just writing about something randomly that comes to mind every day. And so that is me understanding you and knowing my audience, knowing who I'm serving and who I'm trying to help. And by you doing the same thing, you will easily realize that really creating this nurturing process that you need to have in place will be relatively simple. And the fact that you're going to be on message, because if you're not trying to do multiple things at once and you're focused in on that one core offer, then you're going to be talking about pretty much the same topics over and over again in different ways and presenting that information in a very concise manner. So that is another opportunity for you to begin to simplify this process, really thinking about how you can show up in a way that's easy for you, that is going to capitalize on something that you enjoy, and that's going to showcase your strengths. If you're a talker, maybe it's a podcast. If you're someone who likes to write, maybe it's a blog. But you get my point. You are trying to build something that you can simply do, that you can easily work into your workflow, that doesn't require a lot of excess work, especially on the front end, so that you can utilize that to keep the whole process of nurturing and education and brand awareness going, so that you can speed along that buyer's journey and really land clients in a predictable fashion, because you have all of these in place and they're not being interrupted by you stopping and starting over and over again. Now, the last thing is that I really want you to consider the importance of your thought leadership in your space, because once you become known as a trusted source for educational content, for advice, for knowledge as to how to achieve particular goals that are very much in line with your industry and with your field, then it is going to be easy for people to search you out. That is the aspect of building this high value attraction strategy that allows people to come and find you. Because the thing is, when you become known in your industry, and we're going to think about some extreme examples like the Gary V's of the world or Seth Godin's of the world and people like that, when you become that go-to person, people are searching you out. They know about you. They hear about your work. They understand that you have said something in the past that has helped them along the way, that people are knowing that you can offer more, that you have something to say, and that what you're saying is very valuable. Then it makes your whole process of attracting clients, generating leads, and converting them much easier, because then they don't have to get to know you. They're going to be able to get to know you ahead of time before you ever get in a meeting room or on the phone. And this is a huge aspect. And it really requires you to simply put your unique perspective and your ideas out there. It doesn't require you to write a book, although if you want to write a book, that's absolutely great. But it does require you to share those things that people are going to find helpful, interesting, and something that is going to help them solve their small mini problems and build the confidence and the trust that you're going to help them solve something that is definitely a larger problem for them in their business or in their lives. So really think about this whole aspect of thought leadership, what it means to be someone who is forward thinking and innovative in your space, someone who is able to look at what's going on in your industry and provide a different perspective, someone who is able to share a different view. For instance, part of what I do is I share what it feels like, what it has been for me to be a Black woman in consulting, in the entrepreneurial consulting space, or in the small firm consulting space. I can share that experience with you. And I know that there are very few that have that similar experience that they're publicly communicating. So that is one way that I have decided to show up. But the question is, how do you want to show up? Because I know you have a story. I know you have something that you can share. I know you can talk about how it feels to be possibly the only woman on your team, or one of the few, or the first one to really achieve a major goal, or someone who has the greatest, most innovative idea that no one seems to recognize or appreciate. When I talk about the digital marketing space, and I talk about things like social media when it comes to consulting, most people will turn up their nose and think that, oh, that is not real consulting. She's not really doing something that's real, or this is something that won't work for everyone. And my take on that is not true. I know that's not true. And I think that perspective is something that's outdated. And so I'm just giving you these examples because I want you to understand that it doesn't have to be anything that is very difficult for you to communicate or difficult for you to come up with. All you have to do is speak your truth. That's all. Because you have that knowledge, you have that experience, just share it. And the more you build just really being open to sharing how you feel without having to run it through different filters and think about how it's going to impact someone else or their view of you, and you speak openly, you will actually find that is what is going to help you stand out. That is what is going to help you attract more business, attract more clients to you. And it is going to be your secret to generating more leads, to building more trust, to allowing you to convert more clients in the end. So I hope I've given you an idea of some of the ways you can begin to simplify your process, begin to really create a system and a structure for you to generate the business that you need in a predictable, reliable, reproducible fashion. So I hope this helps you think about how you can begin to incorporate your business development and business growth into your life in a more seamless way so that you can show up consistently in a way that suits your lifestyle and your goals and allows you to really create the predictability in the business that you need. So with that being said, I would love for you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, share it on social media, share it wherever you can, because that helps us to really attract more and more people to the podcast, and then also allows the word and the information to get out to more individuals that can really benefit from this message and really grow their business. Because my goal and mission is to help more women in consulting just like you become successful and achieve longevity in this hyper-masculine industry that we often have difficulty competing in, especially with so much going on in our everyday lives. So I'm here to really achieve that goal, and I hope that you join me in that mission. All right, guys, until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave your review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share it with a friend. We're on a mission to increase the success and longevity of women in consulting, and you can help us do that. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so let's connect at Dr. Angelina Davis on Instagram or LinkedIn. And don't forget to visit excelatconsulting.com for more information to support your consulting journey. Until next time, take care.